Hello and welcome to another webinar with the Twin West Chamber of Commerce. This is Dave Meyer of BusyWeb. Delighted to have you with us today. And we'll give everyone a few seconds to get logged in and to get dialed in as we join the Hangout. And so if you are just browsing this right now, there's a few things that you need to know. First, I'm going to skip right over to that. If you need something or if you have a question, here's how to reach me. I am Dave at BusyWeb, and I'm the president of BusyWeb, been involved with the Twin West Chamber of Commerce for quite a while now, and we've had a number of fantastic events and opportunities. BusyWeb, you'll learn a little bit more about us in a couple of minutes, but if you need to get a hold of us, dial us at 612-4BUSY-O for service and support on this Hangout, and delighted to have you with us. First, wanted to run through a couple of very big housekeeping things. As we go through the event today, you received an email to this page. We have a bunch of folks that are already online, so I'm seeing that the email is working. But if you would like to ask questions during our event today, there's a couple of things to do. First, you're probably browsing and watching this video from the home page or from the event page here. If you would like to ask questions, just go to number 1 above, as highlighted by me right now, and click on this Google Plus link. If you click on that link, it's going to take you into a page for the event, and you'll notice that it says Q&A and live right here in the middle. If you click on that play button, it's going to open up a new window, and inside of that new window, you'll be able to then ask questions. I'm going to hit pause here so that you don't hear me twice, but you'll watch the event here in this window, and then you'll be able to ask questions by clicking on the green Ask a New Question button down at the bottom. So if you simply click that button and ask a question here, you'll be able to ask us questions, and I'll be dialing in and checking to make sure that we don't have any questions during the event at occasional times. One note, if you do experience slow or jittery internet performance, we are monitoring to make sure that the Hangout is going well and that nothing's happening. So if you see either audio drops or if the screen freezes or if something happens, try first to refresh your page, to go into your browser and hit the refresh button. Or if you're watching it live from the Hangout or from the window, you can simply scroll back a little bit and rewind, because you're probably running into an internet connection issue with your particular location. If you're over Wi-Fi, if you have a slow connection, or sometimes just if your ISP is giving you trouble, you may see a little bit of jitters, such as the nature of live video. But all's not lost, and never fear, just refresh or back up a little bit and you'll be able to keep watching. And if you do have an issue, if you need to come back later or if you need to take a call in the middle, this call will be recorded. It's going to be available on YouTube, and it will be embedded right inside of that page that you received the link to forever. So fear not. If you need to step away or if you have issues with connectivity, your video is waiting for you at any time in the future. We do have a bunch of folks, and I see that folks are still logging on, so we're going to start slowly here today. Again, as a reminder, if you are joining and you would like to ask questions, if you've come to this page that you received the email link to, if you're watching from this video right now, you can simply scroll up under number 1 right above the video and click on this highlighted Google Plus link. That's going to open up a new page. As long as you have a Google Plus account, and if you have a Gmail account, you're probably 99% of the way there, you can log in, and then you'll be able to ask a question during the event as well. So feel free to ask us questions, and we're going to be checking that on occasion during the event. All right, let's get back into business here. First, you're probably wondering who the heck BusyWeb is and what we do. Well, I'm right in the middle of the page right over there. That's me. BusyWeb was founded in 1999. We have a team of 14 folks based in Champlin, just a little bit north from the Twin West Chamber headquarters in Plymouth. We do have clients all over the world, and we specialize in WordPress-powered web design and online marketing. So what that means is we create websites using WordPress as the tool. And when we build our WordPress-powered websites, not only do we support your social media, but we help you to work smarter, not harder, by letting your website automatically post to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and seamlessly integrate with Constant Contact, which is what we're talking about today. And some of the tools that you'll be seeing are how we implement surveys and support via Constant Contact tools, but you'll be able to use this on any email marketing or survey or event tool that you need. So if you do have questions on any of this stuff, of course, how it might apply to you and your system if you're using a different system, would love to chat with you about that, and you can just ask us those questions. A little bit more about Constant Contact. BusyWeb is an ALE, or Authorized Local Expert, and we are master certified with Constant Contact, which is how we're able to provide this content to you today. Constant Contact does newsletters and announcements, offers and promotions, feedback and surveys, which is what we're going to talk about today, and events and registrations. So if you need any of that, this is probably one of the best deals in marketing. Starting at $45 a month, you can get all of that stuff and be able to be an effective communicator and work smarter, not harder, across everything that you do if you use Constant Contact. All right, enough of the sales pitch. Let's keep moving forward. Why we're here and what marketing is that marketing is really about eliciting a physical and measurable response. So if you're talking about surveys in particular, that's what we help you do. So if you set up a proper survey, if you're trying to find out anything about your clients or about your products or about how you're being perceived, a survey can do an amazing job at that. And having a great tool like that you can get for free inside of your Constant Contact account is very, very simple to make a easy to use survey. So campaigns, we know, are about eliciting a physical and measurable response. In our time today, our campaigns are all about pushing content and then, of course, pulling response back, or in our survey sense, pushing questions and then pulling insights back. And we're going to talk to you a little bit today about how to know what to ask, when to ask it, what to do. As a matter of fact, if I go through this, we're going to talk through what are surveys, polls, and reviews, and why to use them, how to structure your survey, and how to plan good questions, including the types and structure of those questions, and when and who. Two very important questions, followed up by results and follow-up, and what's next. So if you have any questions about any of that, and if you'd like to see something else as well, if you have specific questions, or if you would like to enter in a sample survey question and have me help you with that, this is your time to do so. And again, you can do that through the Google Plus tool. And if you click on the Google Plus link under number 1 above the embedded video, you'll be able to ask us questions or provide your sample questions for our review live during this event. All right, let's get dived in here and talk about surveys. First, what are surveys and why use them? Well, it's incredibly important, first and foremost, of course, to listen if you want to be an effective business owner. Your customers are going to tell you a number of things. They might tell you, I'd spend more if the customer service was better. If I have good experience, I'll tell my friends. Or I don't worry as much about the prices if the experience is great. And all of those things you might not know, or you might not be able to take action on if you don't ask the right questions. So in order to know what you want to ask, of course, you have to have your objective first and foremost. And by objective, I, of course, mean what do you need to achieve out of your survey or out of your solution today? So what do you need to know to help you take action to make your business more successful? That's what we're really looking at. And then, of course, what we're going to do, instead of asking all kinds of different questions and trying to ask 100 different things all at once, we're going to pick one thing and ask questions about that one thing. The importance here is to be focused, because everything that you do, the more noise you provide or the more choices you offer, the likelihood that you're going to get measurable and actionable responses back dramatically decreases. Every question that you ask should already have a possible action associated with it. If you don't know what you're trying to do and how you can do it, then you really need to figure out what works best. So that's how that works for you. and let us know if you need anything out of that. So that's objectives. Of course, as gone from goals, a goal is an overall kind of direction that you want to head, and an objective is something you need to achieve inside of that. So as we talk about goals versus objectives, think about your objective, what you need to do in order to achieve your goals. Here's good and bad objectives. Maybe find out if people read our Facebook posts. Well, that's not all that difficult, is it? So let's think about more that find out if our Facebook fans prefer pictures or links to articles. Do they like our product? Do they like our orange juice? Well, that's interesting, but do you think our home style OJ is more or less bitter than other brands? And do they like our event? Did they like the layout for the venue? Was the program too short, too long, or just right? Or do you prefer a plated dinner or a buffet? So you can see if you have general questions or general objectives that you're trying to reach, you're not going to get much back that's actionable. And again, don't ask questions that you don't want to take action on, because if you're going to ask about, did you like our event or our venue, and you have no plans on ever changing your venue, then don't ask that question, because if everybody tells you that your venue stinks and you keep having it at the same place, you've just alienated the people that took the time to answer your question. And you want to be responsive and show people that you're listening inside of online marketing. All right, so let's run through some scenarios. Here's a okay objective. I want to learn if my customers, supporters, or clients are using social media. That's good for a single poll question, but not so much for a survey. Here's a better objective. Identify how I could use social media to better engage with my customers. So here's a sample question on that. I might want to ask, what social platforms do you use? And then offer the choices: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest. And possible action based on that response: refocusing your social media strategy on the most popular channel, right? So makes sense. Here's another couple of options for that. What kind of content do you look for on social media? Articles, pictures of friends or organizations that you follow, deals, coupons, jokes, quick tips, or whatever. And then the action that you'd want to do based on that question: develop desired content and feature in our social posts, and also use results to build content for that newsletter. And finally, how often do you expect to see new content posted? And of course, you're going to give them some options, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, and then develop posting schedules to match that desired frequency and create a newsletter. So that's one scenario on identifying how you could use social media to better engage with your customers. Let's try a different one. Here's an okay objective. I want to figure out how to get more people to my events. Okay, fine. But survey past registrants that didn't show up and figure out what would encourage them to attend is much more actionable and is much easier to actually drive forward with. So in a sample question: to which area would you most likely travel to attend an event? And of course, if you're in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, or if you're in Twin West marketing area, you're probably going to be talking about in Minneapolis and western suburbs, our store, or maybe a dinner cruise or whatever. And then your actions based on that response: start investigating venues in the area of the greatest response. Or maybe you want to know, what kind of entertainment would you be most interested in seeing? A comedian, musician, performance artist, and then leverage that local network to find talent based on those responses. Now, again, you're trying to figure out how to get more people to your events, and survey past registrants that didn't show up and figure out what would encourage them to attend. How about, at what time of day are you most likely to attend? And then give them some options. You're not going to leave this as an open-ended question, because people have different ideas about what timing is. So make sure that you give them specific responses, so you can say, well, 80% of our people wanted to or want to attend our events in the morning. And then you're going to develop a venue strategy and pricing based on those responses. So now that we know kind of what our objectives need to be, what are we talking about as far as what are surveys? Well, here's a few types. Surveys, of course, are sent through email and social media. They're designed to get feedback and segment your audience by interest. Now, these can be longer, but they don't have to be, and really they shouldn't be too long, because you're not asking for a census, you're asking for a survey. If it takes more than 5 or 8 minutes, you've gone too long, in your survey, and you're not going to get very good response. Polls are very good for quick insight on one question. They can be pushed out through email or your website or social media, and that's literally one question responses that you're looking for. Or, of course, reviews, asking for feedback on specific products or experiences, and asking readers to rate your organization directly and on a review site. So again, you want to know what you're going to do with these types of surveys or types of polls or reviews, and you need to be able to take action on all of those. So let's talk about some more detail on what that means. Inside of structure and questions on how to build this, there's a few different things that you need to think about. First, what are the reasons for your surveys? Maybe you have employee needs or trying to figure out profiles of your customers. If you want to know more about events or be more relevant to your customers, dividing your customer experience and trying to dial that in, or gauge your customer satisfaction. That's all great reasons for surveys. However, if you've got a lot of questions, you're going to get an abysmal response. So, matter of fact, as we look at this over response rate and number of questions, the more questions you have, the lower your response rate is going to be. Make sure that your questions or that your surveys are as short as humanly possible. That's the old adage about elegance being as simple as possible but no simpler. As short as possible but no shorter would be a good adage for surveys. And as you look at surveys, you want to have a couple different kinds of questions. So first, closed-ended questions are very good and should be the core of your surveys. They're easy to answer, they're easy to analyze, and they ensure that the scales are more or less balanced or clear. We're going to talk a little bit about how not to lead with different questions in a moment, but the more you can give people specific choices and ask them to all respond in the same format, the easier it's going to be to take that next action and to measure what you're doing. And it also feels like a lot less work. If you're doing open-ended questions like this, do you have any suggestions for improving our products? That's great, but it really kind of makes things more difficult because it takes a little bit more time for you to think up things on the fly. If I can either respond A, B, C, or D based on what I'm reading, that's a lot easier than trying to type out a full response. And so open-ended questions are not limited by options. They help you provide deeper insights, which is great, but they should be used sparingly. So if you use too many open-ended questions, that'll slow down your survey. It'll make it seem like it's far longer than it really is. And you're just going to get a lot more noise in your survey results. So a good rule of thumb for surveys is, if you have 5 to 10 questions on your survey, no more than 2 of those questions should be implicitly open-ended. So here's some tips on questions. You want to make sure that you look and don't do some of these things. How would you rate the career of legendary outfielder Joe DiMaggio? Well, that's what's called a leading question. You're giving folks the implication that Joe DiMaggio is a legendary. And so a better question might be, how would you rate Joe DiMaggio's career? Right? So don't imply that he's legendary, or don't imply that your company's service is fantastic. If I asked, how fantastic is BusyWeb's customer service, or how would you rate BusyWeb's absolutely stellar marketing, that would introduce some noise into the solution. Are you very satisfied or very dissatisfied? Well, that kind of limits the evaluation range. So you're either one extreme or the other. Instead, maybe overall, how satisfied are you with us, and give them a scale of 1 to 5. What suggestions do you have for improving Tom's tomato juice? That's very general, and you're not going to get a lot of response because you're asking people to think too hard and you're asking them to do too much inside of a simple question. So what suggestions do you have for improving the taste of Tom's tomato juice? I might go further and say, do you find Tom's tomato juice to be too bitter, too sweet? Is there a specific ingredient that's missing, or something like that? The more specific you can get, the better you're going to get as far as quality of responses. Here's some more. What do you think of the service? it's kind of hard to compare results on that. So you found the service to be, and then provide 3 or 4 choices: stellar, okay, so-so, terrible, and so on. How would you rate the food and entertainment at the event? That's a double-barreled question. You're actually asking 2 things. So let's go ahead and ask those 2 things separately. How would you rate the food, and how would you rate the entertainment? And how well did the RDD explain the use of CTAs to drive CTs? Too much jargon. If people aren't in your industry, or if you're sending out especially to a broad audience, you can't use jargon, and you can't use things like abbreviations or things that general population might not understand. And so making sure to dial that in and ask real questions like, how effectively did the speaker explain calls to action, would be a much better structure for your questions. So let's go into this just a second, and then let's move forward on some tips on questions. So first, of course, make your first question easy to answer. You want to warm people up. A lot of times we share name and address, or name and other info. You want to be careful with that first question, because it might, especially if you're asking a bunch of sensitive questions, it might get people wary to respond to your survey. So make sure that everything's upfront and that you're not asking for too much upfront. So make it easy question to answer. Make it general, make it simple. You want to warm people up. Place your most important questions up front, realizing that people are going to spend the most time and attention on the first couple of questions, and then they're going to get a little bit tired, or something else might happen. Their phone might ring and they might need to rush through the rest of your questions. Get it all up front, and then ask for profile and demographic information at the end. Explain why you need that information. And keep it simple, and don't get too personal. Maybe first name and email address if you want to do these things, or if you want to get that, explain why you need it, and explain that you're going to, or that you won't use that for any purpose other than for this survey. And it's probably a good idea not to make the questions about demographics mandatory. If people are concerned about their privacy, or if they don't know you well enough, they might not want to respond. And so if you can make that softer, or not required, it'll give you a much better response rate. Again, how long is long enough? Well, you don't want to overdo it. Don't ask questions that aren't relevant, and don't ask 2 questions if 1 question is enough. Although again, we talked about don't ask double-barreled questions to try and fit 2 into 1. But don't ask too many open-ended questions, because they feel longer. And then too many demographic questions feels like you're trying to impede in people's privacy. And then how long is long enough? You can have 10 to 12 questions, as long as they're mostly multiple choice, because those feel shorter. And limit those open-ended questions to no more than 3. And here's the thing, don't try and make a survey more than 10 minutes for sure, but 5 to 8 minutes of a completion time should be a good goal. Don't just guess though. Make sure that you take that survey yourself, and that you take it on multiple devices, because as long as you're sending things out, if you're sending the stuff out through an email, there's probably a 60 to 75% chance that your respondees are going to be initially opening your survey on a mobile device. And if it doesn't work on a phone, you're going to lose that survey. So make sure that you take it yourself. Confirm that it takes less than 5 to 8 minutes to do. And it should take less than that for you to do it, because you just wrote the questions and you know what you're looking for. But make sure that you give them that option, that you're as upfront as possible with everything that you're doing. Let me switch over for a second and just check to see if we have any questions. Again, as a reminder, if you would like to ask questions on this content from the page that you received the email on, if you go above the embedded video and click on this Google Plus link, it'll take you into this page. You can click and ask new questions to us, or provide sample survey questions to us by clicking this green Ask a New Question button in the lower right. When you click that, we will see it and we'll be able to respond. We're going to have a couple more times where we'll open it up for answers and for next steps. So if you do have those questions, please send them in, because this is all about you. All right, so we know how long is long enough. We kind of get it. and we understand what we need to do and how we need to do it. Now let's get into when to send that survey and who to send it to. Okay, so when you're thinking about when to send it and who you need to send that survey to, first, there's a few options. You can either send surveys out on the fly as you need to know something, or maybe after an interaction. So if you have an event, you might send a survey a couple days later. You can have regularly scheduled surveys, and that'll go out on the first month of the year and maybe in the 6th month of the year, or go out to different people at different times. The key when you're figuring out who to send your surveys to is we all probably have lists of people that we want to work with or that we know. If you have an email marketing list, that's a great place to start. But you need to categorize that audience into different segments in order to be as useful as possible with those results. Because there's probably a couple of different ways that you can break this list of yours into useful segments. Maybe you have regular customers or donors. Maybe you have seasonal customers or supporters. There's always going to be a few VIPs, of course. And then you may want to gauge and get information from brand new people as you're asking those questions. And you can style or send those different questions out to these different segments and move forward from there. And you're probably going to be able to ask different levels of questions or get different levels of integration or ask more from specific people. So as you segment your audience, one option might be to do a big survey to everybody in January. And then maybe after that, you're going to take a short survey of a small segment of the group. You might take the folks that responded most positively to your survey and ask them follow-up questions, or the ones that responded most negatively to specific questions. You might want to get another feeler out to them and see if things seem to be improving for them. And then maybe again later on in the year, you can ask a short survey or another small segment of the group to see what else is happening. This way you're getting lots of feedback, but you're not necessarily inundating people with surveys and with extra asks for information. If you asked everybody in January and May and September what your questions are, you might wear them out and they might stop responding, or it might even foster some ill will. But you can ask a lot more things, a lot more times if you segment your survey group and you're asking different people those different questions. And the key, of course, is that you want to make sure that it's a representative sample. So it has to be big enough and varied enough so that it makes sense. But again, you could have survey group A and survey group B and have those both be random groups, or you could segment them out by VIPs or new customers, or the old hands or your best folks, the happy folks or the unhappy folks, and move forward by asking those folks different types of questions. Once you know your audience, then of course you can do a little bit more follow-up and get the details out on your results. So once you get the word out on your survey, you can of course get more feedback and responses. So as you look at this, there's a number of ways to get better responses on your surveys. Even if you've sent an email out to specific people, you might want to follow that up and market this, depending on your market, to all of your social networks. Certainly, once you get the details out to your people and you have the survey out in people's hands, you can also use social media to share the results to a broader audience as well, and kind of share, 86% of our customers would love to do business with us again. Are you one of those customers? And let us know if we can help, or something else like that. And whether it's text messages or emails or social media, the entire point is that you're going to be able to connect with folks, but you're not going to get 100% of your responses right away. You're going to probably need to hurry up and wait, because about half of people will respond in the first day of the total people that are going to respond. And then really 88% of responses will come within that first week. So if you're looking for a good, easy gauge on getting the best results back, a week is probably going to get you everybody that you're going to get. And really within 2 weeks total, that's enough time to get everything done. And you're going to get about as many responses as you're going to get within those 2 weeks. Now you can send reminders to folks inside of that first week and inside of that second week. But in general, the longer you leave your survey open for, the worse your results are going to be as well, because we're all human, and part of the human condition is to procrastinate a little bit. If we see that something isn't due for another month, we're more likely to say, well, I'll get to it tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into next week, and then next week turns into never. If you can get people with a 5 or 8 question survey that's going to take less than 10 minutes to complete, if you can get the easy questions out in front, and if you can incent them to do so, you're much more likely to get responses back, and then you can start taking action right away. Once you're done with that survey and you get those responses back, there's a couple of things that you need to make sure to do. And of course, one of the big things is immediately sending people to a closing page. You may have promised folks some sort of special offer when you filled out the survey or when you sent them the survey. We'll send you a coupon or something if you respond to this survey. Well, make sure that you actually do that and that you do it as soon as possible. There's easy ways using Constant Contact and other survey tools to send people to a specific page depending on what they do. Now, funner might be, depending on what questions they asked, you could actually send them to different pages or their responses. So if you have people that are raving fans, you might want to give them a separate option than if you run into folks that are having specific issues with different things, because maybe you want to work directly with those folks and say, we'd love to talk to you about X, Y, and Z if folks are having more trouble, or if there's something else that you want to dig deeper on. So your pages and your landing pages and your completion pages can be different depending on the responses. You also might want to send people directly to a website where they can access that incentive or register for your next event, review the testimonials, or get an update on details on the survey. If you're updating and keeping a page up to date with responses to a poll, for example, that would be very easy to send people to the poll page so that they would be able to find out more about what they just responded and see if their responses jive with everybody else. The key thing is that results should really inspire action. And so as you think about what you need to accomplish with your survey, and if you're sure that you've asked questions that you'll be able to take action on, then you can follow these 5 steps. You'll review and analyze the details of what you found. You'll look for trends, of course, and then you'll ideally create an action plan on what you're going to do with the results from 1 and 2. After that, you want to follow up with your people, send them an update to say, we heard your feedback and everybody loved the idea of moving to a different place for our venue, or everybody loved the magician, or said that they're really looking for more academic responses or academic content in the next conference. And so that's what our plan is, and here's what we're going to do. If people have taken the time to send you feedback, it's your responsibility to them to tell them what you're going to do with the data that you've got. So make sure that you do that. And then, of course, after you get that done, it's totally cool to survey again after a small period of time. So maybe you send out details and send them up. Here's what we know and here's what we're going to do. And then you might want to survey them again to find out, here's our plan for this year. Does that make sense? Are there any suggestions that you have? As you're looking at statistics and data, you need to be able to take that next step and make sure that your clients understand, or that your employees understand, the steps that you're asking your clients to take. So your staff needs to be trained to redeem or honor those coupons or any offers that you're doing. And then when people come in or when they register for your event or whatever, you want to make sure that you collect signups and lists, and then collect information about their experience with the deal. If you sent them a special offer or a coupon, did you enjoy X, Y, or Z that you've sent out to people, and then use those same tools to follow up, email, social media, and surveys to say, thank you so much. 85 people from our survey took advantage of our offer, and they said that, the night out with Dave on the barbecue was fantastic and they would definitely do it again, or whatever. Once you do that and you've got that data back, you can create an action plan from results. What you may want to do, again, is introduce new services, products, or programs. Depending on your questions, you might improve your website or make sure that your communications are more relevant. You might be attracting new customers, clients, or donors, or just segmenting your audience for better targeting. The key thing is that you've asked questions that were designed to give you some actions to take, so you need to take those actions. You're going to share the plan that you have for your results, and then you're also going to start taking that action and share what the response is to people taking that action. So as it moves forward, that's what surveys are all about. Surveys are the best way to, and probably the most direct way, to specifically engage your customers in conversation. And so as you have that conversation, people want to make sure that they're heard, and they want to know what you're doing as a response to what your conversation has been. And let's talk about conversations, right? So again, as a reminder, you're trying in a survey to push out questions and then pull insights back. The thing that's missing inside of that first share that we sent out at the beginning of our presentation today is you need to share results. So what you need to do is make sure that people understand, yes, you asked them questions, you got insights, and now here's what's happening and here's what we're going to do. As you do that and as you take those steps, it makes it very easy and much more likely that people will respond to a survey again, because if it feels like they're actually able to engage in conversation and that conversation actually means something to you, they're much more likely to respond. So what's next? Here's some practical advice on what to do and how to do it. First, be consistent in your branding and personalize your results. When you're sending out subject lines on survey emails or survey notes, it has to have your logo on it, and it should have your name or your company's name very prominent in that email address. You're probably going to want to make sure that it's some sort of a email address that directly relates to your survey, but it probably won't be surveys. Maybe you're going to send your message from you, so it comes from dave@busyweb.com, for example. But as you personalize it, it's very easy, especially in email marketing programs, to send out notes that say, Dear Bob, Dear Mary, Dear Joe. And as you look at that, that makes it much more likely for people to actually respond. When you do that as well, you want to make sure that you're being as descriptive in your subject lines and in your content as humanly possible. You want to get all the details right up front. And inside of your survey subject line, when you're sending out that note, there's a rule of 222 when you're thinking about subject lines. Inside of the first 2 words, people should understand what you need from them. You should also be able to tell them what they need to do today, and they need to be able to understand and take an action within 2 seconds. As people are browsing through their emails, oftentimes on their phone, which is a very small screen, and they're just swiping left to delete, you need to get right to the point. It's the difference between BusyWeb customer newsletter and help us improve your experience, or BusyWeb March survey, and what would you like to see more of from BusyWeb? So make sure that you get right up there and right in front and do what you need to get, or be very clear in what you need to get out of that, and clearly stating that purpose, the incentives, and how much time is involved is going to be a great way to do that as well. So if people understand exactly why you're doing the survey, what the incentives are, if you fill out this survey, you'll be entered for a random drawing to win X, Y, or Z, or you'll be directed to, you'll receive $50 off your next product or service, or whatever you want to give for an incentive. Make sure that you're clearly stating that. And then you need to be right up front and saying, this survey is only going to take 5 minutes to fill out. And the questions that we state are going to be as simple as possible for you to answer. And here's what to expect. So the more people know and understand, the better they can make a good decision right at that instant on should they take your survey, the more likely they are to actually respond. There's two real things that people are looking at as they're filling out or as they're responding to email of any sort, but certainly surveys in particular. Are they going to do it now, later, or never? So you need to get in front of them and be as forthright and as succinct as possible so that they can understand that, yes, I will do this survey now because, hey, look at me, I've got 5 minutes to spare, and I really would love that big incentive, and so I'm going to fill that out. If the now turns to later, later is usually a fancy word for never, because we all get a lot of email, we all get a lot of asks on our time, and if you don't fill things out immediately, a lot of times it just falls through, and then before you know it, the survey option or the survey window is gone and you've not done it. As well, make sure that you inform people of the confidentiality, that you're not going to share this information or individual responses with anyone else, and probably that you're not going to add people to any other email marketing list or share this data with any outside company. You want to be very clear that this is for informational purposes. It's going to be used internally at your organization, and we're not going to share your responses with anyone else. Also, clearly display that call to action. One of the things that we lose a lot in our online marketing is we forget that people have very fractured time and attention when they're on their online devices, when they're on their computer, or when they're on a mobile device. And if you don't tell people exactly what to do, it's much less likely that they're going to actually do what you want. If they have to hunt and peck and dig around to find what you want out of that message or out of that survey, it's not going to happen. Make sure that you include that closing date, and it shouldn't be too far away. And then be sure to include a thank you upon completion. You really do just need to say thank you when people survey, because they've taken the time out of their days to give you helpful and informative information. Make sure that people feel like they're part of helping your organization improve. All of this can seem like a lot. So one of the things that I counsel our clients to do is to really start small. So maybe do a single item poll on your website or via social media, and then grow that to 2 or 3 questions, and then start delivering them perhaps via your newsletter, because you've already got a number of people that are engaged and connected with you. So that makes it an easy ask. Maybe just ask a 2-question survey at the bottom of every email newsletter to get there. And then once you get a hang of it, then you can build to 10 to 12 questions using different kinds of questions. The key on all of this is to share those results with your respondents, and then maybe send out additional pulse surveys to different segments throughout that year. So you don't need to get all of this done immediately. Don't feel like you have to be perfect, especially in the world of online marketing. People are forgiving and they expect things to grow organically and things to kind of progress through trial and error. You want to make sure that you're doing a good job, but you don't have to come up with the 10 perfect questions on your first time out of the gate. Start getting gauges or ideas of information that's helpful to you and your clients, and then just start small and move forward. If you want to do all of this, it's very, very simple to do inside of Constant Contact. Like we see in the middle of the screen right here, all you need to do is click Create a Survey, and then you can start with a template to actually give you good ideas of existing questions. You can also create events or emails or any of the other things, of course, and it's very easy to create those campaigns and segment things out. As a matter of fact, if you've ever sent an email before, you probably already have all of the tools that you need in order to create a great survey campaign right off the bat. So don't feel like it's too much or feel like you're taking too big of a leap, because especially if you use the right tools, it's very, very simple to set up a great campaign, a great survey, and to start getting responses back that'll engage and inform your clients. If you would like to try any of this, of course, as a Twin West member and as a webinar attendee, you're eligible to receive a free template design as part of working with BusyWeb. If you visit this link, busyweb.com/cc, and if you sign up with a paid account, we'll be able to work with Constant Contact to get you a free template design based on your website usually, but it might be giving us your logo and some other details. But Constant Contact actually completes that for us. It's like a $200 value, and the templates that they come up with are fantastic. So if you have that, your mileage may vary, and if you're already an existing Constant Contact customer, we may have to find something else worth your while, because you might not be eligible for this. But you'll for anyone new or that hasn't tried this out, after you start paying for your Constant Contact, we'll be able to get you this free template design. In summary, remember that BusyWeb can help you with any of these things. Our Buzz Builders online marketing programs are designed around surveys and email marketing to help you generate the results in buzz that you're looking for. And we can also help you with website design, with websites that are designed to get your company what it needs without taking up too much of your time or making things too complicated. Our tagline, generate buzz without getting stung, very much means what it says with what we do. We help you get the results that you need, and we guide you away from all the gotchas that seem to be endemic with everything that other clients or that our clients run into in online marketing. Also remember that you can join us every single Wednesday. So Busy Webinars, which we just had one yesterday on Facebook ad demographics, and next week we're going to talk about LinkedIn company pages and showcase pages. They're out there to help you grow your business. Also go to busyweb.com/events to register for anything that you see on this page or anything through the end of the year. We'd love to see it. We also have more than 170 training videos about pretty much everything under the sun in online marketing, and we'd love it if you'd take some time to look through those. You can ask questions live during that event, and we'll stop at the end here and just make sure that there are no more questions or responses. But one last thing for you today, if you'd like to know more about how your online marketing specifically is doing, go to busyweb.com/buzz and take the 2 minutes to fill out what you see on the left-hand screen. You enter in your website, you enter in a keyword that you'd like to be found for. If you're feeling saucy, you can fill out your competitor's URL, and then we'll give you back immediately within 45 seconds a 10-page report that outlines what you're doing well, what you need to do better, and gives you a handy checklist on what you should consider to improve your online results. This is free to you, and if you'd like to do that, we'd love to have you visit busyweb.com/buzz. Let's check back one more time here and see if there are any questions. Doesn't look like we have much, so I am going to go back. We'll close this out today by thanking you for being a member of Twin West, and of course, thanking you for attending this webinar. Remember, at BusyWeb, we help you generate buzz without getting stung, and we'll talk to you next month. Thanks again, and have a great month.